talking about Tech, the Big 12 media, they released their standings. They had Tech 9. I go from top to bottom. Tell me what you think. Baylor was in first with 17 first place votes. Oklahoma with 12. Oklahoma State with 9. Texas in fourth with 2. And we got Kansas State with 0, but they were in fifth. Iowa State in sixth with 1 first place vote. I don't know what that guy was thinking. He might have been too much tequila, I guess. Then rounding out the bottom four is TCU, West Virginia, Texas Tech, and then, of course, our Kansas Jayhawks. What are we thinking about that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it needs to be said. Do not put any stock into any of those rankings that come out before the season starts, especially in the Big 12.
Of
There's no
course.
conference where there are more coin flip games this year, games that could be decided by one little thing than in the Big 12. So, um, the top four, I largely do agree with. I personally, why don't we run down our standings that we've set out for the teams real quick? What do you have for us?
All right, for me, I have Baylor at number one. I just think they have the best coach. I think that they have the most ability. Oklahoma at 2 because Dylan Gabriel. I think he in their schedule isn't that hard, so I think they can get that at 2. Texas at 3. We talked about them; they're just not there yet. I got a surprise Kansas State at 4, and I almost had them 3 because I'm really high on Kansas State. Oklahoma State at 5. West Virginia at 6. Um, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, I think you can swap them. Then Iowa State at 7, TCU at 8, Tech at 9, Kansas at 10.
Okay, yeah, we definitely do differ in some spots. For me, I have OU, Baylor, Texas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, West Virginia, Kansas State, TCU, Tech, and Kansas at the bottom. I do not have Kansas winning a single Big 12 game this year. I cannot put any faith into the Jayhawks actually being able to put together a team that can stop another team from scoring. I don't. I do think that Kansas does have potential at the quarterback position. I am a big fan of Jalen Daniels at quarterback. I think that he is actually competent, and you know, Kansas really struggled last year. They were the worst team in the country at moving the chains and getting first downs and just being able to move the ball. But unfortunately, without a defense, there's no way I can put any stock into Kansas being able to put together one Big 12 win. However, they will be able to pick up, an FCS win um, or two. I believe that they play Tennessee Tech, I believe, is how they start their season. So, hopefully Kansas will be riding on a high, being undefeated. But last year, as we saw, they did lose to South Dakota State. So, um, not a good look. So,
Yeah, so we're kind of the same. We got Baylor, Oklahoma. Tell me if you agree. To me, they're the two clear, like top two teams in the Big 12. I think maybe Texas, but we just don't know. So I think going in, you have to put Baylor, Oklahoma. I have them clear 1 and 2. Who's better? I have no clue.
yeah. I mean,
But
Baylor's defense last year was exceptional. It was absolutely exceptional. They won the Big 12,
mhm.
deservingly so, in an epic game against Oklahoma State that showed all the reasons why they deserve to win, and that's because they can wreak havoc on defense. I do expect some regression this year because they did lose some key starters from last year. Overall, though, they do have that same returning lineup. Um, and I think OU is my number one simply because I believe that a lot of the players on their offense are a year older now. Theo Weiss hasn't really seen much playing time since he arrived at OU, um, but I would really look to see him, putting his foot down and becoming, a star in the OU offense. Picking up the offensive coordinator from Ole Miss, whose name is escaping me. I believe Jeff Letty maybe was his name. I believe.
Yes, he
Um,
was Dylan Gabriel's OC at wasn't he at UCF?
at UCF.
Yeah.
I believe that there is some connection there, but things like that help. When you're in a place, even when it's new, but you have your coaching that you've had before, that sense of familiarity can really help with the confidence of quarterback. And so, I think that OU and especially if their defense takes a step up and they are able to play games, away from the stereotype of the Big 12 where, people say it's no defense. It's all just, the race to see who can put up 41st. Um, I think that those are the two clear cut teams, and I wouldn't be shocked if Texas tried to creep into that, but I just don't know that with all the young talent that they're ready to make that jump into the top tier of the Big 12 just yet. But I would look for them to absolutely improve from what was a disastrous last season for the Longhorns.
Hopefully so. So you're a betting guy.
Yeah. Well,
So
not often.
not
I live in
often.
Texas,
Yes,
so
yes. You like you
uh,
like you like looking at
oh
the
yeah,
odds and
yeah.
stuff.
I'll look at the lines. Yeah.
Yes. So what are you thinking when you look at the lines? I think Oklahoma is a favorite right now at plus 170.
hmm
Then Texas at 290, and then it's a kind of a big drop off. You have Oklahoma State next, and Baylor both around 600.
Yeah. For me, it's Baylor plus 600 from DraftKings to win the Big 12. For me, that's a lot of good value there. And because I'm honestly surprised that Baylor's odds weren't higher. To me, plus 600 seems like a steal for where we're at the moment. So, for me, I have that much confidence in Baylor to be able to make it back to Arlington this year. Um, I don't really put a lot of stock. I wouldn't put down a bet on Oklahoma at the moment just because, there is a lot of uncertainty there. It's kind of the same deal with Texas. We're just going to have to see how the first few weeks play out, how the team's playing. By then, all these odds would have shifted. So, what I'm saying now is irrelevant. But if it were me at this moment, I would bet Baylor plus 600 to win the Big 12 as my favorite line.
The more I look at it, the more I like this Kansas State plus 1600. I know
All
you're
right,
not high.
let's hear your rationale for this one because bro, you've been watching those 5 minutes of Adrian Martinez highlights too much because it's not
Maybe
gonna
I
happen.
have. I don't know. I think they have a really good running back, and I'm by no means am I picking them to be the favorite. If you got a little extra change, why not toss it on Kansas State? They play fun football. They're on the come up. I think it's so much parity in the Big 12. I don't think it's going to be a clear, like record wise. I think a lot of these teams are going to be close,
hmm
especially some of these teams have tough out of conference games. So,
But
you
back to your
know,
point though on Kansas State though, so you're saying that because they have a good running back, they can get up there. Y'all had Bijan Robinson, y'all still have him, and
yes,
y'all went 5-7.
yes. I'm not saying I'm not. It's not a good case. I'm just saying that.
All right.
Look, especially if Kansas State they play at Oklahoma, I think that's the Big 12 opener. They can win that. They kind of get a little momentum going. I don't hate it. So I'm gonna say I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, there's so much in the mid tier of the Big 12 this year, and these are my teams that I feel could be switched in any order. I think that you can put Oklahoma State, Iowa State, West Virginia, Kansas State, and TCU. I mean, those 5 teams right there could legitimately end up in any order of the standings this year.
I agree.
I don't know what that'll be. For me, the two worst teams going into this year are probably. I mean, Kansas absolutely, unequivocally the worst team in the Big 12. And there's not really any huge sign of improvement incoming. So, for me, easy 0-9 right there. I have Texas Tech at 3-6 in the conference this year. I just don't think that Joey McGuire's squad this year is going to be quite ready to step up and be able to, compete in the Big 12 in the way that those Tech teams did with Mike Leach. And back in the late 2000s. I just don't see those Red Raiders coming back quite yet. Um, but a team that I feel like could surprise is Iowa State. I do believe that Iowa State could surprise. Obviously, the loss of Brock Purdy and Brees Hall does hurt quite a bit.
Tough.
Um, but man, Matt Campbell's defensive, he preaches defense. Matt Campbell does. And it's kind of been the same way that I think that Brent Venables is doing right now. I mean, obviously, Venables has the whole resume of, maybe one of the best defenses ever at Clemson in 2018. Um, but Matt Campbell is all about the defense, and I think that there is a lot of potential for them to really step up. And beginning with that is going to be Will McDonald the fourth, who I have. Um, as one of the best players in the Big 12, if not the entire country. This is a guy who's improved year over year. Racking up sack totals. And I think he could even push for 15 sacks this year after finishing with 11 and a half, I believe, last year. So Will McDonald, Iowa State, if there's any team that I feel like could surprise everybody this year, it is Iowa State in the Big 12.
Yeah, I was looking at them and I was looking at their schedule. They open up against Baylor. I think that's tough as a conference opener.
Definitely is.
Then they have to go to Texas, to Oklahoma State, and to TCU. I just don't see it.
If they here's the thing though, if they pull out and win 2 of those games, huge success out of that opening stretch, and then your schedule gets easier as you go down the line, and you're playing some of these coin flip games that take you on late into the season. Obviously, I mean, the only game I can honestly say with 100% confidence out of the Big 12 that they win is against Kansas.
Of course.
Again, don't see Kansas doing anything this year. And Lawrence, don't turn on the TV when your team's playing; it won't be pretty. But I could see them winning against Texas Tech. As we were talking before this, it would not shock me to see. Texas is due for one of these just bad games. I mean, every team has them. Unless you're in Alabama or an Ohio State, or actually not even a Clemson anymore. That doesn't work. But no, Texas did, kind of stumble against Iowa State, granted with a lot different team, but this year wouldn't shock me if the Cyclones beat the Longhorns again. I believe, are y'all playing in Ames this year?
No, it's in Austin.
Okay, it's in Austin.
All right, well, the week after the Red River, so it could be.
Yeah, so depending on the way that Red River goes, could shape how that game goes. Because Texas loses in devastating fashion, they're going to be fired up and wanting to murder the Cyclones the next week. So, or Texas wins, could come in overconfident. But for me, Iowa State is the team I would look out for to do something much more than their expectations are, except for that one guy who gave them a first place vote, which I don't know what you're smoking, but I'm not even that high on the Cyclones.
Yeah, I agree they could lose to Texas. Texas' problem is they tend to play to the level of their opponents. They play LSU when Joe Burrow's there, arguably LSU's hardest game, and then they'll go and lose to Kansas the next week. So
yeah, I mean,
wouldn't shock me.
It's yeah, I mean, Texas, again, very difficult program to forecast how they're going to be doing this year, and a lot of it depends on Quinn Ewers. I mean, I don't see Hudson Card making that run for the top spot. I just
think it's all for show.
I think so. I think it's pretty much set in stone at this point that it will be Quinn Ewers who takes the field in y'all's opener. But Hudson Card, thanks for coming out, man. I don't see himself for the future in Austin for sure. Wouldn't be shocked to see him hit the portal.
Yeah, I wouldn't, especially with Arch on the way.
Yeah.